Hi, I'm Anthony Newbold. Welcome to A Closer Look. My guest this week is the Minister of Education, Science and Technology, the Honorable Jeffrey Lloyd. Minister, welcome again to the show.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
You're in the news again. You're always in the news, actually. I know it's a matter before the courts and you can't say too much about it, but what can you tell us about why you're in court? You, meaning as a minister.
Well, Jeffrey Lloyd is not in court. The Ministry of Education has been taken to court by the Bahamas Union of Teachers. They filed a writ seeking, they filed an injunction seeking a restoration of cut pay and that the teachers be allowed to go back to school. So we have responded, and last week the court would have ruled. And
Okay.
so that's that. But
so
previous to that, the Ministry of Education filed a trade dispute outlining a number of articles which had been violated by the Bahamas Union of Teachers in two instances, in C.H. Reeves and in Carlton Francis. And before that matter was concluded, the union filed a request by the court to have an injunction imposed upon the Ministry of Education, as I say. And as you noted, it's a matter before the courts.
And I'm not going into that matter. First of all, you got enough teachers?
We will never have enough teachers. Each year I've been a minister, we have had anywhere from 50 to 100 teachers short. This year, similar. We simply do not have the numbers of teachers either coming into the Ministry of Education or those who are in the ministry deciding that they want to be transferred or they are resigning or retiring for some reason or another. So that certainly is a challenge. We seek to remedy that, and I believe that we will eventually have it completely remedied because, as you know, as we have discussed on this program, we last year, September, initiated a $17 million digitization initiative in the ministry, which we expect will do wonderful things for education in the Bahamas. And one of those things will be to remedy the perennial and chronic teacher shortages that we have. Mr. Noble, we expect that somewhere around 100, 120 candidates would enter the University of the Bahamas each year in its education program in order to meet the present and expected demands for teachers in the system. And again, we lose teachers because of any number of reasons I've mentioned before. In 2019, only 74 candidates entered the profession. Entered the program at the University of Bahamas. So when you put in attrition, you're likely to end up with 40 or 50.
Yeah.
That's far short of what's needed.
How many teachers in the system, approximately?
4,200.
4,200.
Total.
Yeah.
Another 700 administrators. Administrators would be senior mistresses, masters, vice principals and principals, as well as district superintendents and so on.
Yeah, which is about what, two students per teacher?
What, 4,200?
No, how many, how many students in the schools? About 100 and what?
In a particular school?
No, all schools. Well,
there are 50,000 students in the public sector.
Oh, 50,000.
There are 26,000 in the private sector. The St. Augustine, St. Anne's, and so on, and other schools.
Yeah.
We have another 15,000 in the tertiary level sector, University of the Bahamas, Baptist Bible, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So all rounded out, when you add in homeschooling, you're looking at, just for the sake of numbers, 100,000 students in the sector. Okay, and the government, of course, is responsible as a regulator, as a manager for all of that. So we have a significant challenge.
Yeah,
but great opportunity too.
Yeah, you also have to speak to what you have to deal with. National exams. Some people call them dismal results from the national exams. How do you respond to that? We have another year of dismal results from BGCSE and BJCs.
I've seen the reports. I've invited the media, and I blame the Ministry of Education because maybe we haven't done as good enough a job as educating the people of this society exactly what those results mean. Let me be very clear. I am not necessarily happy with the results. And I don't think there's a parent out there or an administrator out there who you would say is enjoying a gleeful moment with results. There are many schools that are doing very well, have done well. CV Bethel is an example, have done extremely well. There are districts in our country that are doing and have done very well. And there are those...
some Family Island schools that
Family
have done
Islands,
very well.
yeah. And there are those who are not and have not done well. But let's be very clear about these exam results, okay? We, of course, have whipped this society and our student bodies of being a D nation. And I can understand that because, Mr. Noble, I was one of those on the media who was just putting the lickings to the Ministry of Education. I want to spend this moment to say how grateful I am to Mr. Lionel Sands, who, while Director of Education and Deputy Director with responsibility for the testing and evaluation, who one day called me and he said, you know, Mr. Lloyd, at the time, I think you need to understand something about the new BGCSE metric, assessment metric. You are transporting into this understanding the GCE metric. Now, you and I come out of the GCE era, and the GCE had 5 grading scales, as grades, A, B, C, D, F, okay? Even though a D was a passing, it was considered a poor grade.
Yes.
The average was a C, all right? Those who got B got special credit, those who got A's got distinction. The BGCSE is different. The BGCSE has 7 grades, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So it means then that your average student is going to fall somewhere around the D, all right? If you look at the legend describes that a D is a student who is competent, a student who is able to respond to the matters that are brought to him. Obviously, if you get a C, that means you're even more competent, B, so on and so forth. E, F, and G shares that you're not competent, and to the degree F and G meaning that you are failed, okay? We here in the Bahamas continue to suffer this transportation of the GCE model with the BGCSE model. Now people say, well, Mr. Lloyd, that means that you are satisfied. Of course not. Our students can do better. Many districts, I've said earlier, are doing better. And as we work, teachers are applying themselves, students are applying, encouraging them, we will do better. But here's what I wish for our people to understand. The BGCSE is one assessment tool, all right? Back in our day, only 15 to 20% of our students were allowed to take the GC, were allowed. When we went to St. Augustine's, we had to pass a mock in order to qualify for the GC. Not today. All students in the public sector take the BGCSEs and the BJCs. It's an assessment tool. We want to see where our students are. And the average grade is a D, which still shows competency. Number one. Number two, and this is, of course, lost in the media, and I'm sorry that it is, our graduation rate has increased in the years that I've been the minister, in 2.5 years, from 46% to 59%. I think that that's something to celebrate. Yeah. And I don't know why it hasn't been emphasized, because that is the marker that you really want to emphasize and to show and to demonstrate when you have students, because we have committed internationally, United Nations, Sustainable Development Goals and so on, that we would meet by 2030, 85% graduation rate. We are here in 2019 and we are at 60 or thereabouts. I'm very proud of that, very proud. And there are much more that's going on. But
And that's fine, but as you admit, I guess the ministry is going to have to do a better job of communicating what you just said to me, because you know it's going to take some time to convince the Bahamian public that D is an acceptable grade.
I struggled for years with it. It's almost impossible for me to accept that D is an acceptable grade, because you and I, again, come out of an ethic, a culture, a mindset, a paradigm which says D is poor. Yeah. It's a poor grade. Yeah. But that's not the case in the BGCSE.
I want to ask you something else about grades before we move on, but we got to take a break, and we'll be back with more here on A Closer Look. Minister of Education, the Honorable Jeffrey Lloyd. Welcome back. You're watching A Closer Look. I'm Anthony Newbold, speaking with the Minister of Education, Science and Technology, the Honorable Jeffrey Lloyd. We're talking about grades. And my question is, how do you get grades to do the job, fit into society the way we expect it? Because what you're really trying to do is establish a fair marker of ability, competence?
Well, there are a number of ways that is being done. Today, many schools, tertiary level schools, are not only asking whether you graduate, but they want to see your transcript.
Yeah.
They want to see some record of your performance. But I'll tell you something else that is happening that is extremely, in my mind, impressive. And again, this is, of course, we are all in the media, so we are going to naturally attract ourselves or be attracted to that which is more negative, less...
what sells?
Yeah, anyhow, but that's the way it is. So, take for instance, when I became the minister, I thought that we needed to improve and elevate the esteem with which technical careers are held in our society. You and I come again out of an era, and it is still very present in our land, where if you weren't academic, if you're not academic, don't learn a trade, which of course is an insult to the awesome ability of our people who are technically oriented and who is just as brilliant, just as capable, just as smart as those quote unquote who are academic and enjoying some very lucrative careers, I may wish to add.
Well, critical to the functioning of our society.
Critical to our society. We have seen a 100% increase in the student enrollment at BTVI, particularly since this free tuition initiative that has been announced and now implemented by the government of Bahamas. You know what industry is asking for, Mr. Noble? Not the graduation. Are you certified?
Yeah.
When I became minister, 20% of those students were being certified. You know what the percentage is today? 60%.
Okay.
A 300% increase. You know what the expectation is? Within 2 years, 100% of our BTVI students are going to be certified. That's what industry is looking for. That's what the world is asking for today. That is what the world is demanding today. Not so much graduation rates. Yes, graduation rates very important. Yes, exit exam assessments very important. But whether you are certified, can you do the job day one when you enter into your career? That is the critical feature that we are finding, and an impressive number of students are doing that. More and more students are choosing the technical and vocational career. We now have a dual, what we call dual enrollment program, where selected students in the high school are now also taking courses at BTVI, introducing early on those who have the aptitude or the interest in pursuing a technical and vocational career.
Because I was going to say, and still say, part of your challenge will be convincing students that it's okay to want to do the technical
More
disciplines.
and more students now are choosing that.
Yeah.
The pushback has come from their parents and society, who is saying that essentially because you are dumb, right, not academic, you should go and learn a trade. And they are proving them wrong, because now that there are those skills into BTVI and electrical trades and other trades, particularly technology, we are finding many more students, women and men, males and females, choosing that pathway. And they don't have to spend 4 years getting a degree. They can be certified in a year and a half, 2 years, and they are out there beginning their careers and beginning their entrepreneurial opportunities. In education, the world is changing. There's a paradigm shift across the globe in the Bahamas through technology, through the digitization process, through the increased enrollment in preschool education. We are going to be right there with them.
Dorian wreaked havoc across this country. Schools, education obviously didn't miss it. All of a sudden, in addition to the usual school opening challenges, you have no schools in Abaco and Grand Bahama.
Oh, yes, we have schools in Abaco and Grand Bahama. Schools in Abaco and Grand Bahama are up and running.
They're up and running now.
They're up and running. They're up and running now. Obviously, Central Abaco Primary and Patrick Bethel in the center of Abaco, Marsh Harbor, is not, because it has been very, very seriously damaged. Those schools in South and the schools in the North are doing okay, except they still need significant repairs, and they are on a reduced schedule because of that, but they are on their way. As you indicated, the schools in Grand Bahama, 14 out of the 16 are now operational, and they were challenged in addition to the fact that there was mold and some damage to the buildings themselves. They were challenged by the availability of water and water pressure. That has been rectified. Potable water is now being provided by an NGO called Water Missions that is producing some 12,000 gallons of potable water, much more than is needed. Hugh Campbell and Maurice Moore, major damage. We had to go back in, even though school had opened, we had to go back in and do further repairs, which is just about completed now, and so those schools are going to be operating. But this just goes to show you how important this technology is. This past September, we implemented and launched our virtual school. And I'm talking about the fact that there is a lack of teachers in many of these family islands. This virtual school is filling that gap. 12 islands now are on the virtual school program and platform, and many more and districts are joining. All the way from Moores Island and Sweetings Key and South Abaco, who are now coming on board of the distance education virtual school platform. This is the way of the future, especially in an archipelago like ours, because you have got to give students in these far-flung islands the same opportunities that the students in New Providence, Grand Bahama, and Abaco are enjoying and have enjoyed for many years. Those students didn't have an opportunity before now to take 12 subjects in the BGCSE because they didn't have a resident math or a science or a foreign language teacher. With virtual school, that now is possible, and they will have the same opportunities as every other student.
So let me ask you now, let's go back to Abaco for a moment. You have no displaced students from Abaco?
Oh, we have about 1,500 here in New Providence, which we have been able to place in schools in New Providence. And then there are another about 1,000 from Abaco throughout the family islands. Do not forget that we also have students who would have left the Bahamas and have gone to the United States, some of whom have started to come back. I'm advised that a number of them are choosing not to return to the Bahamas. The same goes with Grand Bahama. Not as many students left Grand Bahama by a percentage as did Abaco. Just about all of Abaco's students, not all, but just about all came out of Abaco, mostly to Nassau and again to other family islands. But the majority of students Grand Bahama remained in Grand Bahama with the expectation that schools would be starting, and a couple of weeks ago we did start school.
So for both islands, Abaco and Grand Bahama, where you had the major damage, what's the timeline for getting those two islands back to where you need to have them with respect to the physical school buildings?
I'm not going to suggest what timeline that is. It's a work in progress. I want to just emphasize that schools are operating in those two islands. Schools are operating. I'll just say this, however, we are looking at approximately $21 million in capital repairs. Yes. We are going to have to replace the schools in East Grand Bahama, the school in Sweetings Key. We're going to have to replace the school in Hopetown. We are doing major repairs to the other schools in Abaco and, of course, in Grand Bahama. That is ongoing. Those repairs do not interfere with the normal operations of schools, but they are ongoing. Plus another $17-18 million in the provisions of a number of other services. For instance, here in New Providence, we have students in the shelter. They have to be bused. That's an extra fee. We have to provide more lunch. That's an extra fee. We have to provide more security, extra fee, psychological services, and a host of other services and requirements, uniforms and so on, that the students need and that teachers needed. We had to spend approximately $1.7 million in paying those teachers who had to come out of Abaco and Grand Bahama in relocation fees. The government decided a $1,000 one-time grant. Then there's also hardship allowances. It's a costly exercise that Dorian has imposed.
Yes, we're going to talk to you some more about that as we come to the end of this. We take this final break, and we'll be back with more here on A Closer Look and the Minister of Education, Science and Technology, the Honorable Jeffrey Lloyd. Welcome back to A Closer Look. I'm Anthony Newbold, speaking with the Minister of Education, the Honorable Jeffrey Lloyd. How do you mitigate the fallout from the late start of schools? Because everything was thrown back.
Oh, I tell you, that's a really deep concern of ours, because you would know in Grand Bahama we had a 6-week late start. Here in New Providence we had a 1-week late start, and I'm really proud of our teachers and administrators who've gone beyond the call of duty, and they do so many times in the school year. We have had to look at the adjustment of our school calendar. We are in the throes now of finalizing that, to eliminate, for instance, the midterm breaks where possible, with the concurrence of the union and our stakeholders, how we could possibly have school on Saturdays where it's necessary. And I must say, there are teachers already doing that. They don't even have to be invited to do so. Whether we are going to shorten some of our breaks, whether there's a possibility that we may extend the school year or push back the BJC exams. The BJCs might be a little bit more difficult to do so. So we are looking at all of that. We are in discussions with all of our stakeholders. Again, like I say, the unions, because we need to have those students at least complete the curriculum. Mr. Noble, we need 180 days to complete our curriculum. On the best of year, we are looking at 172, 173 days. So we are already short. And when you take away a week in the earlier part of this year, school year, and then in Grand Bahama, it's going to be a challenge. This is why the technology, the virtual school is so important. Because with those classes and with those lessons archived, it means that students can go back and do some reviews for their various subjects.
In addition to all the physical things you have to provide for students, it's the mental, psychological, that must be a big concern of yours as well.
Excellent question, and I'm so glad you raised that. That's a very important point, because we at the Ministry, with the Employee Assistance Program, have been doing a lot to assist our teachers and administrators. I want to send a shout out to Israel Aid and other NGOs who have done a phenomenal job of coming to the assistance of this government, this country, and in particular the Ministry of Education. Israel Aid is an NGO out of Israel. They are specialists in trauma recovery, and they have been conducting training sessions for our guidance counselors, psychologists, and others in this very matter. Not only in teaching them how to take care of themselves, but teaching them how to recognize symptoms of distress, mental distress in our children and our parents, and how to remediate that circumstance. And I'm also very proud, let me say quickly, that of our Bahamians who have come to the fore, many of whom are still there and throwing a blow and putting out their efforts and giving their resources in support of their brothers and sisters in Grand Bahama and Abaco. I'm very proud of our people. We are resilient people. We're going to get through this.
Yeah. This hurricane, I'm sure it exposed some flaws with, among other things, some of the structures, but it's also giving you, the ministry, the government, an opportunity to build correctly.
Build correctly. And, we are still very manual in the Ministry of Education. I don't know. Didn't know exactly how many students we had in Abaco. We knew about how many students.
Yeah.
And in order to get that, I had to go and pull this record, pull that record, pull the rest. This is how important technology is and education management information system is. Precisely how many teachers we have and exactly where are they. How many teachers in school, students we have in Grand Bahama, and exactly where are they. When we did the National Registration Program, I'm so proud that Permanent Secretary Mrs. Ambrista and her team, and having a national program down at the the National Stadium, along with other ministries and agencies. We came to find out that there were many students who came to register at that program who we didn't have on the register. Many students who were not accounted for.
But they were in schools in Abaco?
Well, they were not known to us.
Yeah.
And then a whole number of students who were not in schools.
Yeah.
How is that possible? Well, this is what technology is improving for us and making better, so that we can know precisely, and I keep saying to our people, the new currency is data. You cannot make wise, effective, intelligent decisions without data and in a timely fashion. We need to know precisely what we are dealing with in the ministry. We need to know whether the program that we have implemented in September is working, and whether we need to make adjustments so that we can make the required assessments as we are going along and know whether our resources are being wisely spent. Yeah. Of course, you would have heard in the news that there are some efforts by us at consolidation, in the various family islands. Again, the issue of data necessary so we could see where we best spend, utilize our resources.
And this is umbrella education in Grand Bahama, especially UB's campus, BTVI's campus. I think they both suffered major damage.
Oh, but BTVI is back up and running. Major damage, yes, but we are using the top floor, not the bottom, because that has some major work that needs to be done. But UB's campus, major damage. I mean, just destroyed. Just use the word destroyed, flat out destroyed. And we are working feverishly to get that back up and running because we had a significant percentage of our students, the 5,000 students at UB now, were in Grand Bahama, and we need to have them operational as quickly as possible. Many have come to New Providence, okay? And because they came to New Providence, remember the Bahamas government had the initiative of the $500 for Family Island students, so they qualify for that. And a host of other fees that we just simply waived in consideration of the trauma that they have suffered.
You're comfortable, though, that you have your hands around where you need to go with all of this?
Have to. You have to do so. I mean, we are dealing with the worst, of course, circumstance in the history of our Commonwealth of the Bahamas, but life must go on, and we are resilient people. We are very proud, very capable. We are proving that every day. People come in from the United States and around the world and says, you know, I'm amazed how quickly you all are getting back on your feet. I talked to a team of persons from Team Rubicon, who is in Grand Bahama assisting with the schools, and I asked them where they had just come from because they had left their, other tragedy and disaster. They said, Houston. I said, Houston? I said, what happened in Houston? He said, remember 2 years ago they had the flooding. I said, 2 years ago? And you're still working in Houston? He said, oh yeah, and there's a whole lot of work to be done. Yet here we are, Dorian just 8 weeks ago, and we are so far advanced. The debris is being removed, and life is coming back slowly to normal. Our schools are back operational again. You know, I'm very familiar with New Orleans, lived there for a number of years. After Katrina, New Orleans schools were not open for 5 months. 5 months. We have been back and operational within a matter of 6 weeks for the most part. I'm very proud of us.
Thank you very much.
A lot of work to do, Mr. Newboard, but I'm proud of us.
And thank you very much for coming to A Closer Look. And thank you for watching A Closer Look. Remember, you can also watch us on Facebook and on YouTube.